About another area that really is ripe for bringing up blocks and clearing them,
Mm.
hopefully, and that's motherhood. So
Oh.
it's a whole journey in and of itself, obviously, and I know that you and I have children of similar ages, and I'd be just really interested in what your experience has been, not only as a mother, but as a mother who stands in consciousness and brings a daughter into that space and what that
Mm.
experience is like.
Oh, God, what a question. See, now then I would say it's probably harder than it used to be in the olden days where he just used to reprimand your child and that was it. How do you deal with your child when you know that they've got all these different personality things going on and dynamics and you can understand and yet move them into a different space? Um, yeah, it's. I have a very active daughter. I'm sure all parents say we have active kids too, and I do. I find it very challenging sometimes to be able to stand back and take that breath and hold her in the space and understand where she's coming from and hold her in that in that consciousness and that awareness. So it's yeah, it's an ongoing journey for me, that one.
For me, one of the things that I've really appreciated about, let's just talk about as the work that I've done on myself, is
Yeah.
the rate at which I'm willing to forgive myself now for,
Yes.
as a mother particularly, for all the
Yeah.
things that because I'm very aware that of the
Yeah.
impact that human beings have on one another, and some of the things
Yeah.
that I say that Lily, my daughter, could, you know, carry for a long time potentially, and there's just that
Yeah.
almost daily forgiveness of self
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. 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 I can definitely resonate with that. Yeah. Yeah. I can't imagine what it would have been like um, before, before consciousness, pre-consciousness. Um, but yeah, I definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can't hold yourself responsible for every single thing that happens to them because it's their life experience at the end of the day.
There's just one more thing I want to touch on because I think that people would be interested to know. You spoke about, I had ovarian cancer and in
Yeah.
my early 20s, and I'm now a mother of a 3-year-old. And I think
Yeah.
that in and of itself, the process of conceiving and being able to have a child, where many others would have told themselves, it's not going to happen for me. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
able to be a parent. Is there anything you would like to share with us about that particular part of your journey? Because I think it's quite inspiring and remarkable.
Yeah. Well, after the diagnosis, they saved one of my ovaries specifically because I was young and they had the forethought to think that I might want to get pregnant in the future, and I went on my journey, which took quite a number of years, and they said don't get pregnant within 2 years. Well, that was never going to happen. It wasn't there for me at that time. And so I spent quite a chunk of time on my own soul search, on my own spiritual search, on my own discovery of the self. And then when it came time to get pregnant, when I had a husband and we decided that we wanted kids, it was I didn't even consider that it might be a problem, to be honest with you. And it was a problem. It was hard to get pregnant. It took 3 years to fall pregnant, and I miscarried twice. And it was, yeah, I got the first miscarriage was okay, and the second miscarriage I felt like this is never going to happen for me. 3 years of trying, 2 miscarriages, and again, it was a lot of internal soul searching of, okay, so what's going on in my life that I could change? What needs to change there? Am I really ready to have kids? And a whole lot of letting go of the possibility of having kids, which I think was possibly the most significant thing. And I feel like when I really let go of that need or that attachment to having to have the child, then I think things really started to shift. And then I felt, well, we got a dog, and then I fell pregnant.
That was the key.
Not that everyone should rush out and get a dog.
And this is something that I talk to women about from time to time, about who are struggling to fall pregnant about the loosening the attachment to the need for it to happen. And I think sometimes it's difficult for them to hear it from somebody like me who didn't, when my husband and I decided to have children, we got pregnant straight away.
Yeah.
And I know for certain in my being that part of the reason that we did is I wasn't attached to being a mum, actually. It was a desire that had come up, and I thought, well, let's give it a go. And
Yeah.
if there's a being, a soul that wants to come and be with us, then wonderful. And if not, I feel very full in my life, and I can see a wonderful life ahead of me without children. But I'm really glad to hear that this reaffirmed in your own story, that actually letting go of the attachment, but also letting go of kind of some stories and different stuff that's internal, that's not physical. It's soulful, it's mental, it's emotional.
Yeah. Yeah. Like at the time, I was very busy with work. I was all consumed with work. I was working all day. I was working evenings. I was working weekends. So a lot of my life was consumed with work, and a lot of my internal physical energy was dedicated to that. So I feel like at that time, my body just didn't have the space to welcome a child in there. It had no energy to bring to that at all. You know, and I really had to look at, because life changes when you have kids. So I really had to let go of a few things, I guess, that I was enjoying in my life at the time that perhaps weren't going to work when a child came along as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it was again, it was an interesting time, and I think it's quite hard for women when you do have that idea that you want kids to, you know, when someone says to you, let go of the attachment to it, it's like, how do you do that? It's a really hard thing to do. And for me, it was a constant internal discovery as such, because, as I said, you know, I miscarried twice, so life kept showing back to me, it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. Yeah. So it kept me going internal, going, okay, well, if it didn't happen this time, then what? And a bit of a crumbling, I would say, as well.
Yeah, so important. Let's talk about that for just 1 second, this crumbling that's essential, this crumbling of ego, attachment, and so forth, that's essential to freedom.
Yeah. Well, what to say about that? It's for me, it was, I can only describe it in the way that it kind of felt, in a way. It's like, and I'll describe it in terms of wanting a child. It was like I wanted this child, and it's like I was holding on to it. And I'm very hot-headed, you know. I know what I want, and I'm going to go for it. And I'm kind of like a dog with a bone when I go for something. And so it was this feeling of holding on to it. And of course, when the second miscarriage happened, it was heartbreaking, because I felt like physically my body was not doing what it should do, what I wanted it to do. And so it was that internal kind of going easy on myself, and that just this just then had to kind of let go and kind of crumble and melt. And there was a lot of tears, but it caused a lot of softening inside the body.
Yeah.
And then I didn't feel like, because I had to accept that maybe my body wasn't physically doing what I wanted it to, because I had to accept that, then I kind of let go of that attachment as such. And it was like, well, okay, if not this, then here I am, and this is what I do have, and let's be grateful for this. Hence we got the dog.
Yeah.
And then hence a month later I got pregnant.
I love that, you know, the minute that I was able to sit in gratitude for what I did have, let the stripping away happen, and then sit in the gratitude of what was left.
Yeah.
That's like the grounds of the perfect breeding ground, literally and figuratively. Yeah. So now you're in Spain, you run a retreat business with your husband, and you have what seems to be a very beautiful and idyllic life from the outside, certainly.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit more about your business and how people can find you if they'd love to either come and see you through the business, or they'd like to maybe do some color consultancy work with you as well?
Yeah, well, the color business really started again as a love, just something that I really, really enjoyed and never intended it to be a business at all. And that just kind of came as a bit of a sideline. And that I find that I'm doing with people when they come over for the retreats, but I also do it online as well. As the world is so much closer nowadays, so it's easy to do online, and I love it. I find it so much fun. So the color business, for those people who don't know, I look at hair color, eye color, and tell you what colors you're going to look fabulous in. But the main business is obviously our retreats, and what we do is we provide people with a space where they can come. It's a very, very relaxing environment. It's like a holiday environment. We're nestled between mountains. We're in a beautiful valley, and we have sunshine like 360 days of the year. Not that that's important to those of you in Australia, of course, but for those from Europe, it's really important. Yeah. There's definitely an energy here that seems to pull people down into a restfulness, into a peace, and so we provide a cradle for people to come, have a restful holiday, relax, and within that, then we find that some kind of change and transformation takes place. So we offer different retreats, different themed retreats, in which we include one-to-one coaching work, massage, yoga, gourmet vegetarian food, and just scrumminess. Yeah.
I can't wait to come over and experience one myself. I love that. And I love the way you describe it as, this is a place to rest and come to peace. And within that space, transformation takes place. It's exactly what we were speaking about earlier about.
Exactly, yeah.
This doesn't need to be hard work. You can just rest in this, and whatever needs to come up and be cleared will come up.
Exactly, and it relates exactly to what I was just saying about trying to get pregnant. That effort of trying for something, it just doesn't work. When you just let yourself soften, when you just let yourself relax, then things can happen really easily and effortlessly.
Thank you so much, Claire. I've so enjoyed our conversation. I love you to bits.
Thanks for having me. Love you too.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much.
This is me signing off. I'm Samantha Nolan-Smith, and you've been watching Conversations in Freedom.